Hello everyone. A few days ago I put on my community tab that I was going to do a Q&A and I asked for questions, and I also solicited questions on a couple of my previous videos. So today, here I am, finally doing the Q&A. Dinky asked, do you have a comfort movie / TV show? I'm generally a person who doesn't watch the same movie twice. I like watching new things. That generally is comforting to me. But if I had to choose something, I would say probably The Secret Garden, the 1994 movie, is like a comfort movie for me. And I'm rewatching The Sopranos right now. That's pretty comforting. Ignoring Tree asked several questions. Favorite color? Black. How's your tattoo removal going? Very well. You can see here. I'll put a picture here of what it once was. Pretty good. And the one on my leg is practically gone. Ignoring Tree again. What's your opinion on frogs? I'm pro frogs. I'm extremely pro frogs. When I was a kid, I lived in a more rural area, and we had tree frogs, we had toads, we had regular like leopard frogs and different kinds of frogs. And my dad, despite being a massive asshole, got one thing right, which is that frogs are cool, and like he would always be very happy when we found frogs. Or I remember even one time he would pay us for every animal that we could bring into the house. And frogs were always a favorite. I played with hundreds of frogs as a kid, and I'm very grateful for them. Attempt 62. What's the best and worst experience you've had on the Hell site? Well, on Tumblr, let's start with the worst experiences. Probably the worst experiences, it was when my blog was more popular than it is now. Back when before I deleted my blog and restarted, I had a different blog that was even more popular. And I was like deep in my alcoholism, and I would like just buy a 12-pack of beer and just lay in bed all day long getting drunk and like fighting people online. That was probably some of my worst experiences on there, is just exposing myself as like a drunken fool with bad opinions and being angry about it and fighting people. I really just feel like an asshole for those times. And then my best experiences on the site by far are when people send me messages and tell me that like me sharing my experiences has helped them. That's one of my favorite things in the world. I find it incredibly meaningful. Junk Martin says, music you've liked listening to recently? Oh gosh, what have I been listening to? This morning on the exercise bike, I listened to some Merle Haggard. I listened to some Echo and the Bunnymen. I listened to some Beck. Beck is a perennial favorite of mine. I've literally been a diehard Beck fan since I was like 13 years old. And I'm just kind of always listening to the B-52s. The B-52s is something that I'm always listening to and enjoying. Junk Martin also asked, is there a seemingly boring memory you like to recall in your mind? No. Morgan Senyitko asked, what is your favorite type of pie? Blueberry. Morgan asks again, did you grow up seeing any animatronic bands at locations such as Chuck E. Cheese or Showbiz Pizza? Yes, Showbiz Pizza. What is it called? The Rockafire. Oh, it's like the Rockafire band or something. Like that same mechanical band that you see with the chickens and the bear and all that. Yeah, I did see those, and I definitely loved them. I've always loved kitsch. Morgan asks again, sorry I like asking the random questions. What type of water do you like best? Spring, purified, tap, well, etc.? Well, here in Minneapolis, I just drink the tap water. It is great water. It tastes delicious, and it's from the Mississippi River. We're the first city on the Mississippi River. So it's really pure, it's really unpolluted. We're the farthest north city, so. Fermentation asked, what made you want to choose accounting when deciding what career to pursue? Well, I had been living in poverty. At the time, I was making less than $17,000 a year and had been doing that for about 7 years in a row. And just to be clear, I was paying all of my own bills. Like, I wasn't being helped by family. I don't have a partner. I was living alone. It was very hard for me. And at the time, I got a little bit of a money boost from my blog. Somebody gave me a bunch of money so I could go back to school. By a bunch of money, I mean like $1,000 to get out, and I felt obligated then. It was like locked in, like, okay, I'm really doing this. So I looked at the list of programs at my local community college, Minneapolis Community Technical College, MCTC, and I chose the major that just made sense to me. I knew that I was smart enough to do anything I wanted to. I have, my grandmother is an accountant. There's accounting in my family. I'm good with numbers. And it just seemed very stable. It seemed not personal. Like, I'd been working retail, you know? I didn't want to work with people. I wanted to work with spreadsheets. And I knew that this kind of work paid much, much better than selling furniture. Fermentation also asked, did you experience any mental, emotional, or other obstacles going back to school a second time as an adult? Boy, did I. Well, let's talk about it. I had untreated, undiagnosed ADHD. I had and continue to have PTSD. I was in active addiction. I was an alcoholic and a drug addict. And after my first semester back at college, my best friend assaulted me horribly in my apartment. And like, I had to deal with being assaulted on top of having PTSD and on top of being an alcoholic, etc., etc. So yeah, there were very serious barriers to me emotionally and physically going to school. But I made it. I made it, didn't I? I sure did. I graduated in 3 semesters. Huh. Nightmiria asks, I have a question for the Q&A vlog. A while back, you briefly entertained the idea of sharing some stories about semi-psychic abilities running in your family. Will you share some of that with us, please? I live for stories like that. Yes. I realize that this is something that I'm sure that a lot of people aren't going to take seriously. I half don't take it seriously. But yes, for generations back, there have been stories about people being psychic in my family. Not just on one branch of the tree either. It's all on my mother's side. And I will tell you briefly a story about a psychic ancestor of mine. His name was Henry Becker. He's my great-great-great-grandfather. He came to the United States as a child on a boat, and his entire life he never told anyone where he was from, would not reveal that information. So we know nothing about his family prior to this. It's probably not his real name. And supposedly, he was involved in the gold rush. He went out to find gold, and then what he found he sewed into his clothes so that on his journey home he wouldn't be robbed. Apparently some robbers did find him, and he came walking out of the woods naked. The guy owned a bar in Wisconsin. It was probably also a brothel. And he was a drinker. This is something also common throughout my family tree. He was like some sort of alcoholic. And he married a woman who was much younger than him, whose stepfather was a very cruel alcoholic. So she hated that he drank. And one night, so he owns this bar, but at home he couldn't drink. So he had to hide his liquor in the barn, right? So one night he's just pie-eyed drunk. And he goes out into the barn for one last drink and like mistakes the bottle for another, drinks poison, and that's how he died, okay? But this guy supposedly was like renowned for his psychic abilities. Like he told his wife Mary, like, on this property here, don't ever sell that section of property because one day a railroad is going to go through it and we'll be rich. And now there's a railroad going through it. And he said to her, Mary, if you have a son, don't name it after me. Don't name it Henry because that child will die. And when my great-great-great-grandfather died, She was pregnant with a child. She named it Henry after her late husband, and it died after 1 year. And I'm sure, and there's like other things too, right? Just for shits and giggles, here's a picture of Henry Becker. On another side of my mom's family, there is this like legendary family of 2 parents and 13 children, right? I am named after the very small girl on the woman's lap here. That is my namesake and my great-grandmother, right? So she has 12 siblings, right? And I'm a member of a Facebook group of all of the descendants of this great family, right? And at one point someone posted like, so are we going to talk about the psychic stuff? And so many people responded with stories about this family and their descendants having psychic intuitions. I have family that works as psychics, and most of the intuitions that they talked about involved people dying. It involved seeing apparitions of people shortly after they had died, or having premonitions about people dying. And those were stories I had persistently heard in my own family, like my grandparents and my aunts and uncles, of having premonitions about people dying. And this was always something that they had talked about. And I myself have experienced this. I won't go into too much detail because this is something that really happened. And these are people who really died, and they were good people, and they're not members of my family. And like, I'm just not going to go into that much detail. But basically, when I was a teenager, a few people that I knew got into a really bad car accident. And one of them was my younger sister's friend. These are both these people were kids. They were teenagers. And I was up at the bowling alley in my small hometown. I was up there smoking cigarettes behind the bowling alley because that was the only place I could do it in private. And there were some telephone lines over, so I'm facing out into a field, right? And there's railroad tracks and some telephone lines over them. And I saw some birds on the telephone lines, and one of them flew away, and then the other one flew away. And I knew that the girl who was my sister's friend died. She had been in the hospital, right? But I knew, I had a psychic intuition that she had died from looking at these birds. And I called my sister. I had a cell phone. It was like 2005 that this happened. I had a cell phone. I called my sister at our house and I said, I don't know how I know this, but I think your friend died. And she said, she did just die. I just got the phone call. Now, you could say, well, they were in a car accident. She was in the hospital. It would have been easy to guess that she was going to die. But why would I, at that exact moment, after she had received the phone call, why would I have been so convinced that I would call my 15-year-old sister and tell her that I thought her friend would die, right? And I can't explain why I knew it. I just knew. And it's other things, it's other things too. It's like dreams that come true and other stuff. And you could think I'm an idiot if you want to, but it's real. Andy Wonderland asks, favorite animal? I have a persistent fascination with pre-human hominids. What is my favorite animal would be like a Neanderthal or something. Like, I just cannot get enough information about early hominids. Favorite living animal? Probably chimpanzees, monkeys. I'm really interested in our inner family as a species. Favorite Pokemon? I do not know Pokemons. Favorite Care Bear? I am old enough to have watched the Care Bears, but I do not recall any of them. I'm sorry. Dream travel destination? I'm surprisingly well-traveled. I'm very well-traveled. And I'm really lucky that I've been able to travel in my life. I've actually been to 15 countries. Canada, Mexico, England, France, Switzerland, Austria, Liechtenstein, Italy, San Marino, Vatican City, Spain, Monaco, Greece, Denmark, and Germany. So I've done a lot of European travel. So I would like to go somewhere that is like not Europe, maybe India or China, Korea. And actually, if I was gonna go to Europe again, something I would really like to see is my family's hometown in Poland. No, obviously not my entire family from all over Europe, but I've there's my family's name I can trace back to a town in Poland, and I would really like to see that. Attempt 62, another question, asked, "What's the appeal of weird to you?" I like weird because it's good-natured. I like it because it's good-natured and it's a little bit scary. It's sort of a reflection of my worldview. Like our lives here are there's something wrong about the fact that we're here. All of this is it's very weird that we even exist, and it's especially weird that we exist on a planet in a galaxy, in a billion galaxies, in a universe that we have no idea where we came from, and we just have so little information about what's going on here. It's bewildering. It's a little scary. So yeah, I like media that sort of reflects back to me this bizarre unease in a lighthearted way. I find people very endearing, and I nothing makes me like happier and like more touched in this world than like an old lady showing off her collection of like rat pictures. Gaboo Goddard asked, "I'm a big fan of the Kennedys." They're responding to a picture that I have in my kitchen of the Kennedy brothers. "I like the picture hanging on the wall. Bobby was my favorite. By the way, do you have any social causes that are important to you?" If you've watched my videos, I just want you to ask yourself, how much extra capacity do I have to be involved in social causes? I think that people can see that I spend virtually all of my time doing therapy and related processing. I don't even go out that often. I mean, maybe once or twice a month I'll go out and go to an event or go to a movie or something, you know? Other than that, I'm just seeing my family and like my one friend. And I do not have the capacity to dedicate my time to any kind of social cause. So I am this like really lame political agent where I vote for the Democrats, but the truth is that I'm much harder left than the Democrats. I think that we should, take all the billionaires and ask them with a gun if they would like to redistribute all of their money. And if they don't want to, that's why you have the gun. And I am anti-rich, I am anti-America, I'm anti-military, I'm anti-war, I am anti-racism, anti-sexism, and I am pro-LGBT. I'm one of the LGBTs. And all of that, all of those beliefs that I have, kind of goes nowhere, kind of does nothing really in the world, because I am so consumed with trying to fix myself that I don't actually do anything with those beliefs, except I guess act in a way that a person who has those beliefs would act. So this is an anonymous question that I got on my blog. For the Q&A, you've mentioned making a resolution to go on more dates this year. Now that you're sober, how important is sobriety in a partner to you? I would say that I can't date someone who's an addict in active addiction. If someone is a heavy drinker or a heavy smoker, anything beyond occasional and casual substance abuse or substance use, I know other people don't abuse them, substance use, that is, I'm just not going to be able to hang with, honestly. Um, Being sober all the time, it's not it's not as fun to be around drunk people when you're not drunk, you know? And I would hate to, because I have spent so much time thinking about my own substance use, I would hate to see in a partner something that I don't like about myself when I'm drunk or high. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that that would affect my opinion of them. And that end, it's just not a healthy situation for me to be in if I'm around someone who is heavily drinking or using drugs or even smoking cigarettes. I mean, I certainly, of course, I mean, who has more sympathy than me for the plight of the addict or the plight of heavy users? Like, I get it, but I don't think that heavy use is healthy. And I don't think that it is something that a stable person engages in. And so I am looking for a partner who is interested in their own well-being in a way where that does not mix with heavy substance use. But you know, someone who is more casual about it, I would be fine with. I'm around people regularly who are drinking and who are high. I'm around people all the time. I mean, it's kind of hard in this society to avoid that. But if someone I knew were regularly getting drunk in front of me or just always super baked, I wouldn't hang out with them. Wow, well, that sure was a Q&A. Thank you to everyone who sent in your questions. And I'll be back to doing vlogs probably tomorrow. Okay, bye!